Oh, I didn't even notice.
Oh.
You guys, have y'all seen the time lately? It's time to start. All right. Good morning. It looks like there's as many people outside there as there is in here. So if you're just getting here, come on in. The water's fine. We'd love to invite you guys to stand with us if you're able. Welcome to Austin New Church. You look beautiful this morning. Those of you at home, we miss you, we love you, we hope you're well. Lord, we thank you for your presence in this place. May our minds be open, may our hearts be soft to what you have for us this morning.
Come fill our hearts up.
but I see you, but I see you. There's so much that I don't know, but I know you, but I know you. There's so much that I don't understand, but I have seen your goodness, and it's just enough. And I'll bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. 'Cause only a fool can find real love. Just give it up, I won't give it up. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. I don't have the answers yet, but I have you, but I have you. And I don't know who I can trust. I can trust you, I can trust you. 'Cause I've heard a song that I can't ignore, like a current pulling me toward you. And it's just, and I'll bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. 'Cause only a fool can find real love. Just give it up, I won't give it up. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have. Sing it out. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all. I bet all I have on you. 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 Bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. Bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. 'Cause only a fool can find real love. Just give it up, I won't give it up. I bet all I have on you. I bet all I have on you. Oh Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you. Jesus, you're worth it. I bet all I have on you.
Oh, good morning. Y'all can have a seat. I'm Katherine Johnston. I'm one of the pastors here, and welcome to Austin New Church. We're so glad that you're here with us this morning. If you're new and visiting, we would love to get to know you. You can do that by filling out an info card on our website. If you go to this QR code or austennewchurch.com/info card, just fill out what you're interested in, where you're from, how you found ANC. We would love to connect more with you, and you're always welcome to reach out to one of our pastors if you'd like to grab coffee or a drink. We would love that. And secondly, we're so thankful for your partnership and generosity with ANC. This holiday season, as we're approaching the end of the year, we would just ask you to consider ANC as part of your end-of-year giving. You'll hear more from Jason about that in just a little bit, but I wanted to highlight a few of the things and a few of the ways that our community is impacting the larger Austin community. We partner with Posada Esperanza, who supports the refugee community, mothers and children who are escaping violence from their home countries. We support the Heights at Community First, who work with those coming out of chronic homelessness. Free Fridge, who feeds those facing food insecurity. Out Youth, who supports queer at-risk youth. And we have plans for the new year to partner with more organizations across different segments of our community in things like healthcare and those who work with the differently abled. When I was thinking about all of the things that ANC does in our community, and I thought about the size of our church, I was blown away because we're not a huge church, but we do so much in our community. And I think it's because each one of you has such a heart and a passion for serving and for living out your values. So thank you. I don't know why it makes me nervous to talk about that. Like, why is that? I think it's just energy. I feel so energized, especially after the election, to want to truly be a community that loves and lives our values. And so I just feel so passionate about it. Like, it just has to come out somehow. So when you give to ANC, it's really not about money. It's about what can we do collectively together? And that takes resources. So our vision is for when you give to this larger community, we're able to do more than we can each do on an individual level. And I just encourage you to focus on that. Like, no matter where you're going to put your resources, whether it's here or another organization, think about what you want to do as a collective and not just as an individual. Okay, so that's my little heartfelt, sort of from the heart message about that. Some things that are coming up later this week. One of the ways that we're going to live our values this month is that we're participating with Posada Esperanza to do a winter clothing drive for their families, for their kids who don't have warm winter clothes. So if you're interested in that, you can go to this QR code to sign up to donate, and we'll send out a list of the needed items. I'm still like, I just need to run around or something. I don't know what's going on this morning. Okay, also happening today, Rachel is hosting a Sunday supper in South Austin at the Browns home at 6 p.m. If you're interested, you can text Rachel to RSVP. I think the theme tonight is Italian. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, Italian food. So come dressed in your favorite Italian clothes. No, not really. Not a costume party, but the theme will be Italian, and you can text her if you want to RSVP. We're so excited that the O4 Center is going to have Flamey Grant, Chris Matthews, and Heather May on Thursday, December 19th. Doors open at 7. The show is at 8. We really hope that y'all will grab tickets at that QR code, or you can also go to the O4 Center's website to find tickets after today, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be such a good Christmas show of making the Yuletide gay, and we hope you'll join us for that. Happening in January, the very beginning of the year, our own Laura Jennings is hosting a very short but beautiful retreat in South Austin at the Laura Lee Foundation. She's calling Embodied Faith. The cost is only $40, really just to cover the cost of food. You can sign up and find more info there on the QR code, or there's also a flyer out in the lobby. And it should be a beautiful time of sort of like setting intentions for the new year, recentering in your body. And then last but not least, we're planning to have our annual Christmas Eve service on Monday, December 23rd. It's a long-time tradition for ANC to have a service not on Christmas Eve, but on Christmas Eve. So I hope you'll make plans to join us for that very special service. Okay, I think that's everything. So if you will, stand, find someone you don't know and say hello. Share if you're planning to travel for Thanksgiving or stay in town. Just what your holiday plans are.
She hates
Good
it.
morning, online viewers. There you go. I'm not in the room anymore. I hope that you're well this morning. Still glowing from the family reunion weekend. For those of you who were able to join us, that was such a gift to see you in person and get to connect with you. And for those of you who weren't able to make it, you're still in our hearts, and we're having a virtual foyer after the service today where I hope you're able to hop on Zoom and say hello and connect with other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, watching online and being a part of this community, even if you're not right here in the room with us. So, I may still be in the mains. Am I still in the room? No? Okay, sorry. Anyway, we're looking forward to hearing from Jason in just a few minutes as he's teaching on our next passage in the lectionary. So glad you're here.
All right. It's good to see you guys this morning. I see some new faces out there. I don't know why anyone would be in church on a day like today when the weather is literally made to order, right? Don't tell Michigan, not interested. Y'all stay up there for so many reasons. And Kentucky, right? Y'all stay in Kentucky too. Anybody watch that game yesterday? Brian watched it. Did you watch it? You were there? Resisting the urge to have you come to a eyewitness account. Now we saw the score, no big deal. So morning all, Jason Ashley Morris here, that's my name. If you're new around here, I just want to say welcome. I see a lot of new faces. I want to say welcome to you. Many of us have given our lives so that a place like this can exist. For us, this little chapel, this little 1969 chapel that looks exactly like 1969. I hope you liked that year because that's as good as this is ever going to look. But for many of us, this little chapel and the dear people that it holds inside is in fact a beacon of hope in a now increasingly stormy world, I would say. We have a few values that drive us. We're not like lots of churches that have several web pages of values and things. We have a few values that drive us, and we do love to talk about them. And one of those is simply safety. And when we're doing things right, which is not 100% of the time, but more often than not, when we're doing things right, if we create safe space, friends, then healing and growth will happen for you here as it has for so many of us over the years. We believe in this work. If you poke us in the belly, that's what we'll talk about because we do. We believe in this work, which is why we support it with our time and with our financial resources, especially now that we're likely staring down the barrel, and I use that word picture very intentionally, staring down the barrel at what looks like the loss of safety and civil liberties for many of the people that we love. Places like this make more sense now when public spaces become more and more hostile. Places like this make more sense. Friends, I don't think it's too much to state it plainly. We know what to anticipate over the next 4 years. This is a known brand after all. We've already smoked this doobie, you might say. I went there, Chris. I did go there. We've already had a piece of this. We know what we're looking at, and that's why building little subversive spaces like this matters more than ever now. So welcome, consider yourself invited to the resistance, okay? Safety for all, no exceptions, that's the bottom line for us. That's one of the values that unites us. So you just need to know that coming in, if you're new around here, that's what makes us one. It's not our beliefs about you fill in the blank. It's not our beliefs about any doctrine that unites us. I say this all the time, there's no evidence in Scripture to me that the people around Jesus even believed the same thing about who he was. It's not beliefs that unite us, it's a few values, and safety is one of those values. So welcome to that if that interests you. Also, welcome to the last day of the church year. And if that still feels new to you, all I can tell you is that I follow the church calendar, and we follow the church calendar here at ANC. We observe the great seasons of the church, and they begin with Advent, which begins next week. And as you know, Advent builds up to Christmas, and then that season is followed by Epiphany, and Epiphany is followed by Lent, which builds up to Easter, and then Easter lasts for a while. We call that Eastertide, and of course that takes us up to Pentecost. And then Pentecost, the Feast of Pentecost, actually goes some 25 Sundays or so, and that ends today, which brings us back to the beginning, Advent. It's a rhythm that I love. It's a cycle that I know well. I'm familiar with it. I've studied it. It's just kind of who I am. And you might ask yourself, why would we repeat the same storyline year in and year out? Well, because we're never the same people who gather around and bring ourselves to these feast days, these days of importance for us. The world around us is not the same world. And so we'll spin it again. We'll look at it again. We're going to use the old tea bag and get new tea. We're going to tease new meaning out of the same old story every year. We polish that same familiar gem. We spin that same record. We keep our eyes on the same Jesus of Nazareth who never stops showing us what love looks like, and that's probably why we focus on him. So next week, we begin our Advent journey again, which is the work of recognizing, again, that divinity can take on the form of flesh, yours, and that of Jesus. And friends, it's a staggering truth, which is why we give ourselves 4 full weeks to fully consider it. And all of this means, of course, if you're watching these things and if you're a nerd like me with church-related things, then you would know that today is Christ the King Sunday. And that always makes me laugh every year because Christ himself refused such a title. King, I would say not in any conventional sense. I mean, can you even be a king with no army and no country to defend? The title king never really fit Jesus, regardless of what theologians and dogmaticians would attempt to say in time. He rejected the title king more than once, and as you'll see from today's lectionary passage, people struggled to make sense of Jesus. Religious and political leaders alike, they struggled to make sense of the meaning of his life and the lives of those who followed him. They didn't know if he was a threat or if he was just another short-lived liberator to rise from the ranks of the common folk. The gospel stories strongly suggest to us that the religious leaders, at least, they were pretty clear that Jesus did present real and present danger. The gospels are full of stories where the Pharisees and the teachers of the law opposed him to his face. You're familiar with those. But Jerusalem then and now was and remains a very complicated and dramatic city. There were more than just religious heavyweights to contend with. Friends, the city of David was also at the time of Jesus part of the Roman Empire, which means there were not just religious leaders to contend with, there were political leaders keeping an eye on things as well. But the political leaders, as far as I can read in the book, in the New Testament, don't turn up quite as often as the religionist counterparts, and the politicians, as today's text illustrates, were somewhat less sure of what kind of threat Jesus might actually represent for their particular version of the status quo. The fact is, all institutions and organizations, be they political or religious, can be and eventually will be superseded by love. Paul said it this way in one occasion, only love remains. Love is a law, it turns out, written into the fabric of the cosmos. Paul talks about the law of love in his letters, but we could have listened to biomechanics or biologists or botanists and come to the same conclusion. And I put the word botanist here to remind you that Dr. Wal Kimmerer has a new book out called Serviceberry, and you want to get it today and read it today. She's my favorite botanist on the planet. Anyhow, we could have listened to anyone and gotten that same conclusion that love is a law. It's observable to anyone willing to seek what holds things together, and love will always expose the holes in whatever lesser laws bind and drive human institutions, be they religious or political. I'm putting those two words very close together today for a reason. Friends, that's some people's vision of this country, to put those things in the same little space. Tough times ahead if that's what ends up happening, which I'm afraid it might be. But whatever lesser laws, organized human institutions, or the reasons people gather and coalesce, the law of love will eventually undermine that and supersede it. See, friends, love is greater than fear. Love is greater than self-interest. Love is greater than national allegiance or tribal identity. Simply, love is greater. Jesus wasn't the only one to say it, but he's the one I still hear the most clearly. So all that to say, leaders of all stripes were wise to take note of Jesus and his integrated views of society and justice and mercy and love, because all forms of earthly power eventually bend their knees to love and to truth. Love is universal. It's the glue. It's the energy that drives evolution itself. So we dig into today's passage in a moment. As we do, we're going to see Jesus, how he manages somehow to always get himself on everyone's watch list. But before we do that, I have another looming concern for us today. Today's our last chance to strategize how we're going to navigate Thanksgiving this year. Why does it always fall a couple weeks after the election? Oh, this has gone so wrong in recent times. For progressive people like us, this one promises to be fraught and freighted, maybe close to what it was in 2016. Some of you will be circling around tables this Thanksgiving with family members who see a very different world outside than you do. You both call yourself Christians, followers of Christ, which begs the question, which of you is right? Who's better? And if you have to argue that question at all about who's better, are we missing the point entirely? I wonder if you can feel the answer I'm implying in the way I state the question. As I said last week, I think it's important that we steward our focus and energy now, friends. We have to pick where we invest our time and our attention. Here's a question. Should we give ourselves to arguments with zealots who think that this last election literally saved America from communism? Does that sound like a good argument to have? I'm suggesting that may be a big distraction from the better work ahead of us now, which is going to look a lot more like advocacy and defense and circling around loved ones who now carry scarlet letters on their lapels, who now bear targets on their backs. I turn to this passage in the book of John, hoping to find some encouragement for us as many of us travel to places with family where we may, for the first time since the election, sit in the same space with people who think that we are the problem with a flawed country that they hope to make great again. Here's another question. Does the message and example of Jesus have anything, I wonder, to teach us about how to stand tall and how to have the right conversations, about how to avoid the pointless ones, even when reviled and falsely accused? Can Jesus teach us anything about that? That's a good question, I think. I've said this one way or another. in as many ways as I can of late. And there's a little note here that says this is a hard and a long sentence, so hang on. This is going to be a tough one. See if I can get through it. Friends, we can create from scratch every single day a walking, talking image of what a follower of Jesus looks like. When an alternative version of a Christian presents itself in the public arena, claiming to be the authentic article while it takes public stands of lawlessness and hate and homophobia and nationalism and patriarchy, while it stands for policies that crush the bodies of women and queer people and trans people and immigrants and the like, when they publicly define what it means to be a follower of Jesus in ways that literally foment misconceptions, friends, that isn't the end of the world, it's an opportunity. I made it through. Yeah. That just means that we have to see it with a wise angle, and we've got to move slowly now, we've got to move patiently, we've got to move strategically. There will be great confusion going forward about what a follower of Jesus actually is. And that's okay. We'll just need to stay busy offering better, more compelling definitions and examples of what transformed lives actually look like. Friends, if you were here last week or if you've talked to me in the last couple of days, I'm sure you felt my optimism and my hope surging in this post-election era. We're entering a time of great opportunity, it turns out. It won't be pleasant, but at least we won't wonder what, if any, role the gospel or faith community still plays in our lives and in the lives of those who come under fire. It'll be clear. It'll be self-evident. You see, friends, the gospel of Jesus was written by and for people who lived under very real religious and political threat. That's as simple as I can state it. This is why I think a season of clarity is ahead of the progressive church now. You know what church historians say? They say the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Swords and scepters will never accomplish what the seeds of suffering will. Now hear me clearly. I'm not saying I'm hoping for suffering. I'm not saying I'm hoping any of you suffer. That's not my point. But when and if it becomes a reality, you fortify yourself with the message of good news, the one that resonates deep in your bones, a message that makes unique sense in times like this. The message of Jesus doesn't make sense when wielded by Constantine's sword, and it doesn't make any more sense to me when waved around by the Pope's staff. Anyway, I guess the question is, what encouragement can we find in this text today? Specifically, what encouragement can we ingest as we fly into the hornet's nest of holiday reverie? Because I think some of you are going to need it. I won't. We've scheduled a non-existent Thanksgiving this week. We had turkey yesterday. It's out of the way. There really is no holiday coming for me on Thursday. That's how I dealt with it this year. It's just going to be avoided. But some of you are going to need this. So as we gather as families to give thanks this year for all of our blessings, may we be resolute, loving, embodied examples of lives transformed by goodness and kindness, even if Fox News is blaring in the den. I know the homes you come from, some of you. What we need now are focused and principled engagements of the underlying fears and the false narrative that motivated people to pull the lever for such silliness. I'm not suggesting we simply roll over and allow abuse, though, friends. I'm suggesting that we have the right conversations now. So join me in this prayerful supplication before we read our text. Speak to us, sweet Jesus. Teach us how to stand strong now. I'm going to say that again. Whisper that in your spirit. Speak to us, sweet Jesus, and teach us how to stand strong now. Okay, let's turn our attention to the book of John, chapter 18, to today's lectionary reading from the gospel. It begins this way. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pause a second. The lectionary drops us oddly into the second act of a two-act play. He had already been brought before Pilate, and the Jews stayed outside because they thought to go inside the praetorium would make them ceremonially unclean. So this is the second act. That's why then Pilate entered the headquarters again. And he asks, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Verse 34. Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Verse 36. Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" And Jesus answered, "You say that I'm a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Verse 38, Pilate asked him, "What is truth?" Now, since next week, we literally begin the church year from scratch, where we'll be holding our focus on baby Jesus, this feels like an awkward time to be looking at this text, which comes at the end of his life. We're about to journey to the manger. We're about to look at hunger and longing and human yearning, which is why it feels weird chronologically to be peeking at a scene from the end of the life of Jesus at this point. Hopefully in a moment, you'll see why I found this text so encouraging this week. I think it's a perfect little scene to consider on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Friends, this is Jesus at his finest, at his best. He was an expert at staying focused on only addressing what he was interested in addressing, only going after the questions he wanted to answer. Often falsely accused, almost always completely misunderstood, he only spoke to what he thought was the actual point at hand. Impossible to bait and switch, impossible to trap, impossible to distract. Friends, the mission of Jesus was crystal clear. He came to heal the sick, to restore sight to the unsighted, to bind the wounds of the brokenhearted. He came to comfort, not to be crowned. And to accomplish this, he'd have to remain uber-focused. So the question I have is, how did he do it? Because this is a skill I feel like I might need this week. I've already had 3 very taxing conversations this week that I didn't want to be involved in them at all, so I just went about them answering different things. I think this is a skill we could use. So let's look again at this text slowly now and see what we can find. Verse 33, then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Friends, at the least convenient time, the leaders of the religious establishment gathered at the house of Caiaphas, the high priest, and they determined that Jesus needed to be disappeared. But they were afraid of how the crowd might respond. You see, they were politicians of their own way, in their own way. So they needed a heavier bludgeon, they needed a more deadly drone, they needed a bigger bomb to inflict more damage. So they dragged their kangaroo court to the home of Pilate in the wee hours of the night. Pilate, you may know, was Caesar's representative in Rome. He was there to keep the peace on the eastern edge of the Roman Empire, and it wasn't easy. Anyhow, this mob comes demanding an audience. Actually, that's not entirely accurate. They were looking for more than just an audience. They wanted a summary judgment of death penalty. They didn't want just an audience, friends. They wanted harmony between religion and political machines. Friends, I'm just going to say this in passing, and you're going to know this to be true. Beware when religion and religious and political machines align. I can't think of a single time in history that went well for anyone. Anyway, Pilate seems peeved to have to get up in the middle hours of the night. Is anyone excited to get up in the middle of the night? I would say no. And so Pilate does exactly what I might do in this situation. If you woke me up in the middle of the night and asked me an opinion about something I didn't care about, I would do the same thing. Pilate cuts right to the chase. He asks the big money question first, and here's how it goes. Are you the king of the Jews? Translation, do you represent a direct threat to me? The religious leaders determined wisely that Jesus' teachings would, in fact, in time, erode their authority. They were right. They were 100% correct, friends. Love is subversive in the hands of a selfless leader. Love will always oppose and dismantle religious systems built on bad images of God. Caiaphas and company wanted him dead, but they wanted Pilate to agree. So Pilate asks this summary question, are you threatening me directly, Jesus? And of course, Jesus pivots by asking for him to reveal his information on background, right? Jesus answered, verse 34, do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me? He wants him to reveal his source. Jesus responds essentially, who said anything about being a king? To which Pilate responds, well, I'm not even a Jew, am I? Your nation and your chief priests handed you over to me. What have you done? Pilate, answering Jesus' question directly, says, I'm not making anything up here, Jesus. This is an accusation of your own people. The chief priests of your nation have accused you of this. Tell me, Jesus, what did you do to make them so angry? And Jesus answers, my kingdom, notice how he's just not having the conversation Pilate wants to have. Jesus says, my kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here. So sensing the coalition between church and state, Jesus does what Jesus always does. He just goes cosmic. That's what he does when pressed. Jesus refuses to accept the title of king at first by pointing out the obvious. A king would have an army to resist such a ridiculous public arrest. Jesus didn't resist, as Pilate well knew, so how could he possibly be a king? That's his first defense. You see, armies respond to command and control based on the self-interest of the ruler, and this was not at all what motivated the followers of Jesus, friends. They were motivated by love. This is the key to the story, and there's no such thing, by the way, as an army of love. That's an oxymoron. I could list you many. They're all ridiculous. But Jesus goes on, if I am a king, it's nothing like what you're thinking. It's true, I indeed have a following, he seems to say. There is a realm in which I have unrivaled authority. But if understood correctly, the circle of mutual empowerment, or the kingdom that I represent, has no direct threat for the safety of Jewish people, only to the religious system that oppresses them, Jesus seems to say. That will come down, but I have no plans to erect a temple in its place. I have no plans to establish an alternative priesthood. They don't understand me, Jesus seems to insinuate to Pilate in the wee hours of the night. And in his own way, I think Pilate is beginning to understand. But friends, his concerns aren't related to religious systems. His concerns are political, remember? So Pilate takes another pass. Verse 37, Pilate asked him, so you are a king? It reminds me of the Jim Carrey conversation. Oh, so you're not breaking up with me, right? So like get lost. Oh, so there is hope. So Pilate says, so you are a king? To which Jesus answered, you say that I'm a king, but here's what I was born for. I came into this world to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. You see, Pilate's trying to thread a very complicated needle here. He's attempting to decide how best to keep the peace in a city divided between her people and her religious leaders. I guess this means you're a king then, says Pilate. To which Jesus responds, literally, the only one saying that here is you. Besides, suggests Jesus, I came to bear witness to the truth. And hear me, neither national religion or political authority transact in truth. Obligation, duty, shame, judgment, violence, oh yeah, that was all part of national religious establishments and political organizations. That's what they sell, but truth and love are owned by neither of those two entities. And I never saw this in this passage before this week, but it seems clear to me now. The religious establishment condemned him to death because he was driven by love alone, and they were right. Love undoes that business model of religion. And here we see the political establishment, it could not abide him either because he was driven by truth alone, and Pilate was right. Truth undoes empire. Pilate practically confesses this as he says, ends this passage with a question, what even is real truth? He's giving us full indication that he has no idea what Jesus is talking about. And it ends that way, verse 38. What is truth, says Pilate. Now, this isn't the only example of Jesus literally refusing to have the conversation happening right in front of him. We could be reminded of this in the story in John 8 when a woman is caught in adultery. And the leaders of the synagogue bring that woman to Jesus. They wanted to have a conversation about law and order, but Jesus only draws in the sand silently. Some say with his finger, some say with his stick. But when the accusers push too far into the circle around her that he drew, he stands up and has a conversation about unburdened hearts and human dignity, not at all what they came to discuss. Or we could be reminded of the same way Jesus pivots just one chapter later in John 9. His disciples asked him who sinned when he bumps into a man born blind. Did he sin or did his parents sin? But he's not interested in a conversation about sin. Jesus never was interested in those. He wants to talk about liberation and timing and spit and light. John's memory of Jesus is full of examples of Jesus refusing to have the conversation being thrown at him, preferring to have a much deeper conversation on his own terms. Friends, what might we be able to learn from the way Jesus engaged those around him? Well, if we closely observe how he navigates conversations, we can learn this much. Many should be avoided because they're traps, they're dead ends. We have contended for our ideas in the public arena, and our preferred candidate did not prevail. So what do we do now, friends? I'm being practical with you. How now do we engage? What conversations do we give ourselves to, and which ones do we just avoid? I think we'd be wise to work with spittle and sticks for a moment, friends. Set the mic down for a moment. Social media can wait. No more soapboxes, no more megaphones, at least for this moment. For now, at least, I think we should be bent over, drawing in the sand, drawing circles around people who have fallen into the hands of angry mobs. We should be mixing spit and mud, focusing only on healing broken bodies, not sin or worthiness. Those are settled conversations. There's nothing to add to those. Our conversations need to be about love and truth now. In time, establishments, religious and political, they will hear us in time. But for now, guys, I think what I'm trying to say is this. More often than not, the most powerful thing we can do with the wrong conversation or the wrong premise or the wrong tone is to simply starve it of our attention. It doesn't fly without that uplift of our interest, friends. Many of these things go away if we could just pull our eyes off of them. Controversy and violence and aggression are fueled in the public arena by public attention. And so my final question for us is this: what would be possible if we simply withdrew from those conversations now? What if instead we poured our time and attention into people, into rebuilding in time all of these systems, not on our preferred vision of religion or politics, but friends, simply on love and on truth? Well, I pray we figure this out, because I think this is what the world needs now.
We're always so good at these transitions. Bring your worry, grief, and pain, every cause you have for shame. Lay it all down, lay it all down. When your cares have buried you, and there's nothing left to do, lay it all down. Lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus.
Carried on, but your heart is tired. Feel the worst and felt the fire. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Filled with all those anxious thoughts. All your doubts become your pride. Lay it all down. Lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. Down at the feet of Jesus.
when it rains, lay it all down. Lay it all down.
When we come to feel what we can't explain, nothing here that eases the pain. Lay it all down. Lay it all down.
Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down.
Lay it down.
Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down. Lay it all down.
At the feet of Jesus.
Yeah. Lay it down at the feet of Jesus. Lay it all down. 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 At the feet of Jesus. Lay it all down. At the feet of Jesus. We lay it down, down at the feet of Jesus. Down at the feet of Jesus.
Jump to your feet if you're able and willing. Sometimes you have interesting thoughts that just kind of come to you. I want to tell you something I think is going to happen for us around here. People who have decided long ago that these are unsafe places in which to unfold are going to start coming back to places like this. And I want to be clear with you. Here's what we're asking you to consider. Not Christianity. Not historic Christianity. I'm asking you to consider the gospel of Jesus Christ that sets all things free. We can gather around that. I feel this collective social angst around, oh my God, we want to run to the walls of a safe place, but how can the church, the wounding agency of our childhood, still be a place where we can be safe? Well, here's how. Because this is not an extension of historic Western civilization as it expresses itself through economic empires married to the cross. This is just the gospel of Jesus. And I work tirelessly to keep everything else shaved off the bone. So as we open our doors and people begin to find this place to be safe, my encouragement is to you, if you've been here for a while, keep your conversations as simple and as clear about human souls set free and protecting things we love. Keep them as stripped down as possible. Friends, think sundial, not watch. It's time. They both tell time. One has one part, one has hundreds of parts. It's time to simplify, to go granular, to engage deeply in that way. I don't know where that came from, but it just felt like worth saying. I should have written it down. It probably would have sounded better, but instead I was looking at a picture of myself at my sister's wedding in 1990. Boy, what a looker I was in 1990. I think I had a 27-inch waist. I think I rented a tux for her wedding, and I had to get the pants from the junior section at the tux store and the coat from the moderately adolescent section. Should have written it down. Anyhow, that's how things go. Let me prepare us now for communion. It's good to hear you guys laugh in church a little bit. I've never heard more clapping than the last 2 Sundays. I don't know what's up with y'all. Someone came in and like pixie dusted my little white, quiet congregation, who for the most part I can only ever get Tara to chirp. But it's good to have fun in here. I think there's new meaning behind what we do. Let's do it with extra special attention now. It matters so deeply. It's always only ever been about hurting people, friends. It's not political parties. Oh, please, listen to me, church. We had a candidate we were all excited about who led the country for 8 years, and guess what? Race relations are not repaired in this country. Let us not be fooled. Parties don't do what only love and truth can do. I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go because Thanksgiving's coming. I don't want to wear anyone out. So here we go. Let's prepare for communion. It's a familiar liturgy, and I do this often so that you always know that welcome into the full stead of the family of faith is not up for grabs based on the condition of your heart. It's an axiom, which means it's a immediate response to an open heart. So let me walk us through this and see if you can feel this rhythm, and we'll end with the prayer we've been taught to pray. And then around the circumference of the building, there's elements at the base of the stained glass, and the second windows from the front are always gluten-free. Almighty God, to whom all hearts are open and all desires are known, where could we hide from your love? Remind us now of our cleansing, which I would say is a complete work by your Spirit, that we may perfectly love you in response as you perfectly love us through Christ our Lord. In Christ, our teacher, our friend, the mystic we love, the one who speaks deeply to our bones, invites each of us today to a place at a common table that will only ever be set for us. So as we wholeheartedly seek to live and walk in love and peace and justice, in truth and in love and in the good work of advocacy with ourselves and then with one another, let us in so doing turn our hearts completely to God now and say these words with me. They'll be on the screen. Merciful God, we believe that you accept our heartfelt confessions today. Knowing you to be gentle and kind, even when we are not, we confess. We have been distracted, at times lacking in love. We have failed to love our neighbor as ourselves because we have failed to love ourselves as you do. Forgive us, we pray, and free us to be a people of peace through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And it was a Thursday evening, and you know the story. He gathered his friends, and he felt like it was important to put one final bow on everything he had tried to teach. And I love the summary more than the body, and I think it's the easiest thing to grab onto. And so did Jesus. He lifted bread, he broke it, and he says, this is the image right here. My body is about to go through what this bread just went through in the tearing and the breaking and the separating. But it's only in the breaking, friends, that it multiplies. And so he implied the greatest truth of all time in that little dinner setting. And then he lifted a cup, and it meant so much to Jewish men at the time. It means less to us now, but he sealed the deal with wine that stood in as the representative of blood, because that's how they thought of the world, that's how they thought of God. He lifted that cup and he said, every time you gather, just do this. If you do no other thing, do this. And the this, of course, is simply eat, be open, be together, be reminded that when you take elements into your body that are just derivatives of star collisions from eons ago, when you bring them into your body, the energy that is produced, you are now woven together with those things. That is how near I will be to all of you forever. That was the message. So that's what we celebrate. And so let's pray these words, and then we can partake of the elements around the room. Say them with me. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Hear all you children of heaven's promise, shivering under clouds of gloom. Hear all you wondering where your God is. Jesus weeps tonight with you. Take heart, take heart. He Take heart, take heart. He is overcome the world. Take heart, take heart. He is overcome. Take heart, take heart. He is overcome the world. Take heart, take heart. He is overcome the world. Take heart, take heart. Take
Thanks, y'all. I wrote our benediction today. You can stand if you're able as I read it over you. While leaders argued who was in or out, debated who was right or wrong, Jesus changed the conversation. He bent his body down, mixing spit and mud to heal the blind, touch the untouched, love the unloved, and see the unseen. Reminding us the most subversive resistance, the most effective form of change doesn't begin with debate, doesn't end with rhetoric. It begins with action, and it ends in love. May we carry the calm and clarity of Christ, knowing we are seen, safe, and soothed by love itself. Go in peace, and we'll see you next week for the beginning of Advent.